Confirm badge integrity, no overrides allowed. Marshal Adrian Vek's voice cut through the negotiation chamber like a blade. He didn't glance at the three generals behind him. He didn't need to. Every move on this floor was rehearsed, timed, and audited before the delegation ever stepped inside. The Obrian Spire was supposed to be secure, a floating orbital platform surrounded by 100 microsatellite sentry drones and zero-point locks. Neutral territory with surveillance stripped to bare diagnostics. A final chance at peace. Vek stepped onto the central pad where the floor pulsed dim blue under his boots, matching the ion field that surrounded the chamber. Across the table, flanked by ceremonial guards in reflective armor, sat Raxel Dorn of the Gorot Tribunal. His eyes blinked sideways, an ancient affectation of his species. "Marshal Vek," Dorn said, nodding. "Earth comes late. We arrive exact," Vek replied. "And alive." Behind him, Generals Tarek Salvin, Durham Halveth, and Corvin Dresk took their positions without words. The biometric badges embedded into their collarbones pulsed once, syncing with the chamber's access node. On a side terminal, a Norex technician glanced at a green bar. "Vitals sync complete. No anomalies detected. Meeting cleared." From a high balcony, the third-party arbitrator, an aging Zekir overseer named Jal Voss, raised a single digit and muttered into his relay node. "Begin formal proceedings." The chamber silenced. Vek didn't sit. Terms: cessation of long-range interdiction along Sector Delta 9, full withdrawal of Gorot observation fleets from Terran trade arcs. In exchange, Earth agrees to... Something flickered on the wall-mount head-up display, a sequence of red icons. "Power irregularities." Vek stopped speaking. General Salvin took half a step forward. "Do we have a frequency clash?" "No," muttered Halveth. "It's internal. Those readings are coming from..." Suddenly, the room's filtration system coughed. The lights dimmed. Static washed across the display. Red pulses replaced all known patterns. A shrill tone pierced through the chamber. "Shields!" someone shouted. Vek turned. Too late. 4 implosions occurred simultaneously. They didn't explode. They collapsed. Each general's badge emitted a sharp oscillation before their torsos folded inwards, vaporized, clean through in less than a blink. Bones shattered into light. Tactile armor turned brittle and disintegrated. Marshal Vek staggered. His left side drenched in something he couldn't process. For 1 second, no one moved. Then the floor's stabilizers disengaged, throwing the chamber into lockdown. Doors sealed. Emergency lighting failed. The Obrian Spire's AI defaulted to containment mode, darkening every viewport and muting every broadcast. Drakenvaros was already standing when the alert reached him. Inside the Terran Strategic Command Center, 40 kilometers beneath Lunar Command, his console began a silent loop. Black screen, single red glyph. Varos didn't blink. He didn't ask who authorized the beacon. That would insult the chain of command, already shredded. He placed his hand on the biometric reader. It recognized not a name, but an appointment. Strategic Executor. Level 0, clearance. On the upper deck, Tarn Mavrek leaned toward his workstation. Is that Revenant?" Varos didn't look up. "Unlock failsafe 23, full manual override." Executor. That protocol was never field-tested. It was sealed by... It's not sealed now. Back at the Spire, firefighting drones fumbled in vacuum-locked passageways. The remains of Earth's command staff floated in the collapse vectors left behind by the antimatter charges. Jal Voss slumped over the viewing deck rail, his breathing shallow and sharp, clutching a fragment of his relay node with bloodied hands. The diplomatic table split in two, one half sinking into the floor. On the screen behind him, warning text rotated in Terran Standard. Authority voided section. Terminal event. From the shadows, a Norex aide whispered frantically into a short-range comm. "Veritus command. They'll retaliate." "No, they won't wait. We already— His words cut off as Containment Field 6 failed, dropping the ambient temperature by 50 degrees in 2 seconds. On Earth, Kel Dornath closed a steel-clad drawer containing archived data cubes. His office, buried in the archives of tactical continuity, had no windows and no clocks. A single encrypted comlink blinked green for the first time in 72 years. His old fingers moved slower than they used to, but his voice was still sharp. I warned them this doctrine was not a bluff. In space, 73 dormant vessels stirred in black silence. They weren't manned. They weren't painted. No flags, no lights, no command bridges. Each ship was shaped like a cruciform dagger. No life support bays, no escape pods. Just weapon clusters, kinetic channels, and AI brains insulated by gravitic core plating. These were the Vault Wing, entombed above an unregistered gas giant, in neutral block Theta. They had waited 81 years. A command ping reached them from Drakenvaros CIC. Directive Revenant authorized. Mission Governance Annihilation. Target Veritus. Execute Cascade Launch. No countdown, no reply. Vault Wing ships began to move. Back in the Terran CIC, Roth Varnick stormed in, slamming a decrypted file onto Varos's desk. We just lost 4 flag-level officers. We don't even have footage of what triggered. We have enough, Draken said flatly. They were baiting us, hoping we'd collapse politically. They miscalculated. Roth inhaled to speak again, but Draken cut him off with a flick of the finger. On the command screen, Veritus's planetary grid appeared. Dozens of yellow triangles began shifting into orbital alignment. Names of key zones scrolled. Command Hall, Military Central Grid, Judiciary Nexus. Roth stared. They really thought we wouldn't respond. Draken didn't answer. From the wreckage of Obrian Spire, no signals were allowed to leave. The Tribunal's own protocols had locked them inside their trap. No one outside even knew the generals were dead. Pull the blackout record. I want confirmation. Frame by frame. Drakenvaros stood beside the master node interface as the heads-up display refreshed. Static-filled footage from the spire filtered through corrupted channels, each angle glitching, discolored, time-stamped to the second of detonation. He didn't need the visual proof. Earth's generals were gone, and their absence triggered more than grief. Timestamp confirmed, Haskjoran called out from the ops deck, adjusting the data stream filters. All biometric readings terminated within an 11-millisecond envelope, simultaneous cascade failure on each badge. What was the payload vector? Varos asked without turning. Antimatter cores hidden under quantum shielding, Hask replied, buried beneath the microcoils inside their own bone-implanted ID chips. Impossible to scan without cutting into the subjects. Varos lowered his head slightly. So the Norex buried the knife in the handshake. Torn Maverick entered without knocking. Your command key was requested by Protocol Vault Theta. It's waiting for final override. Good. Draken moved to the command dais. Bring up the dormant fleet map. I want to see the Vault Wing. The lights dimmed as the wall-length heads-up display projected the outer orbital chart. Dozens of triangular icons hovered around a dead sector tagged as Null Orbit/Gamma Seal. Each icon bore the seal of a different retired AI combat vessel, all decommissioned decades earlier under Earth's contingency protocols. Fleet class, autonomous suppression carriers, Tarn narrated from his console. Designated for final gaze conflict, no personnel, no life support, AI brains locked under dual-stage encryption, all of them armed with kinetic descenders, rail mass penetrators, and orbital cruciform racks. They're awake? Pending handshake, Tarn said. Final phase requires executor, biometric clearance. Draken raised his left wrist, lowered it into the embedded slot on the command plate. A thick layer of shielding peeled back, revealing a blackened sensor lined with gold circuit veining. His pulse synced with the receiver. The seal cracked. Directive Revenant unlocked, the system responded. Awaiting confirmation. He spoke clearly. Confirm activation. Authorization. Drakenvaros. Executor class, lock coordination. The screen shifted. The triangular fleet markers blinked twice. Then, one by one, their dormant status vanished. Power indicators glowed red, subroutines unspooled. Wake orders cascaded from ship to ship. Each one powered independently, not as a group. The Vault Wing was built with no network dependency. Each vessel was designed to survive isolation. Movement, Hask said. They're adjusting position. On the screen, one ship rotated along its longitudinal axis, revealing external compartments unfolding like layered panels. Another fired a short-range maneuvering blast, adjusting heading toward a relay satellite. Several others remained motionless, sensors sweeping their surroundings before accepting target parameters. They're all reacting differently, Tarn observed. Some are evaluating orbital integrity first. Others just want to confirm signal alignment. They've been asleep for 40 years, Varos answered. Each evolved differently. We gave them time. They gave us autonomy. In a lower bay, Tactical Officer Bryn Kalvek stepped in, wiping rainwater from his jacket sleeve. Ground stations on 4 continents are logging the wake signatures. Nobody's panicking, but Command wants confirmation. Are we at war? We're not, Draken said flatly. We're removing the possibility of one. Then the capital? Bryn asked. Veritus? Target confirmed. Non-civilian strike. Draken motioned toward the display. We're taking out their ability to govern. Tarn tapped another sequence into his terminal. Coordinates uploaded, orbital synchronization complete, estimated time to formation closure 83 minutes. Hask read from his tactical stream. Enemy response? None yet, Rothberic answered, arriving with a slate in hand. Zekir comms show internal chatter, but nothing public. Garad command traffic went dark 20 minutes ago. They know. He should, Draken muttered. They signed the death warrant. A static pulse marked the final node update from the fleet. The last vault ship shifted its position, aligning nose down toward Veritus. Its external plating bore scorched Terran insignia from a war long buried. The AI on board. Designated. Stratus 9. Pinged. The Terran network once, a coded phrase embedded in its signal headers. Draken noticed it. Tarn, translate that code. Tarn squinted. It says, awaiting retaliation to injustice. That's the marker for cascade execution, Dragon confirmed. Send it. Tarn's finger hesitated, then tapped the final confirmation. All across the command screen, the Vault fleet icons turned from red to amber. Countdown timers engaged. Rail channels warmed. Payload racks rotated into delivery positions. Roth exhaled sharply. This goes beyond deterrence. This is irreversible. No, Draken said without emotion. Irreversibility was chosen the second they activated biometric death tags under a peace agreement. He stepped forward, adjusting the center display. Ensure no signal reaches the tribunal before impact. They'll get the message after we're done. Bryn looked at him. What if they retaliate? It won't. We've shown them the cost of guessing. Across the dark zone, the Vault Wing tightened its grip around Veritus. Orbit locks began to pulse in sequence. Gravitational sync nodes locked to the planet's magnetic field. The ships no longer needed direction. They followed doctrine. Earth's final answer to decapitation wasn't rage. It was execution. Draken opened a secured line to Kel Dornath. We've begun. The wing is in motion. On the other end, Kel's voice remained steady. It's been 81 years since we built them. They're ready. Kel paused. We wrote the protocol expecting it would never leave the drawer. And now it leaves orbit. Back in the command center, countdown markers appeared along the side of the wall, each number carved into digital clarity. The CIC quieted. No ceremony, no speech, just action. Tarn turned once more toward Draken. Do you want to record a declaration? Draken answered without looking. No declarations, just delivery. Sever external relays, nothing leaves Earth space. Roth Varnek didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. The communications deck froze for half a second before the team complied. Lines once lit green snapped dark across the heads-up display, every open channel that led off-world scrubbed. Every diplomatic protocol shut. Mission control locked under blackout containment. Deal Directive VoltNet, intercept everything, archive, nothing. Technicians began rerouting signal traffic. Response pings from outer colonies were flagged and redirected to null servers. The only communication allowed now moved through isolated internal relays. Hardline only, no uplink. From orbit, the Vault-Wing ships passed into autonomous phase. Internal pathing logic took over. No pilots, no dialogue. Target coordinates were already embedded, pre-approved decades ago, sealed under Directive Revenant's final clause. The fleet did not coordinate. Each vessel aligned its own descent vector independently. Gravity locks anchored into trajectory, and thruster calibration adapted to Veritus's upper atmosphere density. Their paths were cold math, unshared, unguided. No war cries, no messages. At the far end of the CIC, Varnik's terminal flashed red. Incoming transmission, marked with imperial priority. Origin. Garat Tribunal. The line blinked, waiting. Decline, he said simply. Another alert arrived, this time from the Zek-Kir axis. Same demand header, embedded with their legal authorization protocols. His console pinged twice, then a third time from the Norex ascendancy. He reached over, tapped a key. Set filter for high priority external distress. Route to inactive buffer. Sir? The comms officer asked. They're begging. Let them do it in silence. Across the wall-length tactical screen, countdown markers ticked. Each Vault-Wing unit now displayed a locked-in impact window, timers synced to Terran-coordinated military time, 67 minutes to entry. No command lines available to abort. That function had never existed. In Sector Command, Hask Jurun finished verifying the final sabotage report. He placed the document on Varos's desk without comment. Draken scanned it once and nodded. Triple layer breach, confirmed. Biometric triggers activated on pulse timers tied to badge resynchronization. They set it to detonate the moment peace began. No peace then. Tarn Mathrek reported from the engineering bay. Fleet has split into orbital strata. Low, mid, and high altitude staggered attack pattern. They'll bypass defensive net overlap zones without triggering counterfire. They're not expecting automated descent, Draken replied. They planned for threats that warned first. Hask pulled up a regional overlay on the heads-up display. Veritus defense grid is configured to detect kinetic dispersal based on civilian shielding parameters. The Vault-Wing's entry mass falls just beneath activation threshold. Intentional, Draken said. Designed to let them believe no one's coming. Until the sky breaks. Another ping. Roth's terminal received a multi-sursum broadcast, this time from the Unified Merchant Corps. Not government. Just trade. They wanted verification. Roth ignored them. Still nothing from the tribunal? Hask asked. They've gone completely dark, Roth said. If they're preparing retaliation, they're doing it offline. Let them, Varos said. By the time they finish one plan, they won't have a building left to coordinate from. Over Veritus, orbit was already beginning to shift. Gravity lensing flared at minor levels as the Vault-Wing repositioned above each strike zone. Their kinetic payload racks extended, each mechanism rotating without noise. Energy bleed was negligible. No visible light, no warning glimmer. Each ship moved with purpose built from archive threat matrices and doctrinal combat logic. They weren't warships. They were systems of consequence. No pilots meant no hesitation. No speakers meant no speeches. One of the junior analysts nearby whispered under his breath, "We're not giving them a chance." Draken heard it and turned slowly. They wrote the outcome when they buried explosives under peace flags. This isn't reaction, it's responsibility. The room didn't argue. On screen, the mission timers dropped below the 40-minute mark. In the Veritas Capitol chamber, emergency officials scrambled. Some tried to access their own planetary defenses but were locked out by sector overrides. A few attempted escape protocols, only to find spaceports offline. Flight control towers had already received false priority orders, rerouting their power to auxiliary grids. The Vault Wing didn't need to hack. Directive Revenant had been designed to understand alien administrative flow and plan years in advance. Across Earth, satellite monitoring stations went into observation-only mode. They wouldn't interfere. They had nothing left to approve. Barnick's console now showed 36 flagged calls. He stood still, watching the feed. "Keep stacking them." No reply. Hask asked. "Not even to confirm terms?" Draken responded before Roth could. "There are no terms." One Vault Wing unit, designation Ardent Span, initiated its burn sequence. Its path took it directly above the Tribunal's central command ring. Its descent module activated. "Silence all sensors." A ship without nameplates, a weapon without declaration. Inside the command ring on Veritus, panic set in. Regional authorities were unsure whether it was a drill or external spoof. A technician pulled up an environmental scan and saw the atmospheric distortion. The data didn't match any known craft signatures. It moved too evenly, too surgically. He tried to send a distress ping. The request bounced. "In Earth CIC, Roth finally said it aloud. They're calling out because they finally realized Earth never asks first." Draken stepped forward, voice steady. "Then they're learning." The countdown reached 28 minutes. From the far left of the heads-up display, another Vault ship realigned. Its name, logged as Monarch Hold, adjusted lateral thrusters to correct for polar jet stream resistance. It would be first to enter upper thermal buffer. Roth looked to Varos. "Do we tell them what's coming?" Draken answered with a single word. "No. Impact trajectory locked. First strike inbound." Tarn Maverick's voice echoed across the CIC as the heads-up display reconfigured to combat overlay. No maps, no diplomacy, just impact coordinates. Dozens of them marked across the capital city of Veritus. Each target node glowed a sharp red. Governmental sectors, military zones, judiciary stacks, financial councils, all were live. On screen, Monarch Hold entered upper thermosphere. It didn't decelerate. Its rail channel extended forward, stabilizers folding inward. 2 ferrostatic warheads dropped without flare or trail. Gravity pulled them, not propulsion. No signal broadcast, no atmospheric warning signature. Within seconds, the first 2 warheads ruptured the electrical grid beneath the city core. The detonation wasn't visible from orbit, but in the CIC, the analytics feed lit up. "Grid node Omega-11 collapsed," reported Hask Joran. "Power cascade failure rippling across 23 sectors. 0 heat bloom, no civilian leakage." Veritus dimmed in under 10 seconds. Not darkness, loss of command infrastructure. Communications froze. Internal defense AI shut off. Autonomous drones grounded mid-cycle. Automated railways locked. Their core power was gone. "Tungsten drop underway," Tarn said, fingers moving across the interface. 12 rods inbound from Stratus 9. The visual shifted to orbital descent cameras. 12 rods, each, the size of a cargo container, dropped from suborbital altitude. They weren't explosive. They didn't need to be. At that speed, tungsten became force incarnate. Their trajectories were fixed. Sector governance towers, central judicial rotunda, intelligence command lattice. The rods impacted one by one, burrowing deep before cratering straight through. No fire, no fragmentation, only sudden architectural absence. Towers that once housed decision-makers simply vanished from the skyline. "Command spire destroyed," Hask confirmed. "No atmospheric burst detected, just contact displacement and structural annihilation." Another Vault Wing ship adjusted orbit. "Caro Vane, now executing sequence Theta 3, Tarn said. A trio of rail cannon projectiles fired from low orbit. They weren't large. They didn't need mass. They were designed to drill. Each slug punched directly through surface skin, hunting for deep earth bunkers positioned beneath Veritas crust. 30 seconds passed before a geological sensor pinged. Subterranean collapse confirmed. Tribunal's contingency shelters eliminated. On the ground, Veritas citizens didn't know what they were seeing. Nothing exploded. The sky didn't turn red. Buildings disappeared without sound. Streets remained intact. There were no warning sirens. Those had failed with the grid. No alert drones flew overhead. They weren't targeted. They weren't in the equation. Civilian buffer zones untouched, Ask stated. Strike zone overlays show complete control. Draken Varos didn't respond. He watched the visual field narrow. There were still a dozen payloads left, but nothing remained that could govern. All planning hubs were neutralized. No command lines existed. Rothvarnik turned from his console. No messages coming through. They've gone silent. They're watching, Draken said. Do you want to send post-impact protocols? Not yet. Another set of ferrostatic warheads triggered beneath Veritas's eastern defense corridor. Infrastructure below the administrative platforms dissolved. Structural collapse followed. Slow and complete. Walkways fell inward. Empty chambers cracked. Tarn tapped a secondary readout. City-wide defensive shield never activated. People didn't know where to aim, Roth said. They had nothing to aim at, Draken corrected. We never announced. Another vault ship, Daggerhold, released its final sequence. 3 smaller rods aimed at the intelligence archive stacks lining the southern ridge of the capital. Designed to preserve centuries of strategic planning, those vaults housed command records, doctrine reviews, and multi-species negotiation blueprints. The rods entered silently and broke every floor on descent. Archiver ratio complete, Hask confirmed. Veritus didn't fall in flames. It simply stopped being what it was. Without noise, without glory, without theatrics. Just absence. Tarn rotated the orbital view. Hull-strike packages complete. No secondary launches pending. Civilian metrics unchanged. Hask glanced at the last report. Impact dispersion complete. 0 spillover. No stray strikes. Roth stepped away from the wall. They're still not talking. They don't have anyone left to speak, Draken said. He stared at the screen as the vault-wing ships returned to passive orbit. They didn't celebrate. They didn't signal completion. Their payloads were gone. Their purpose executed. He turned toward Tarn. Ready Volt recall signal. No deployment beyond Veritus. They stay in outer orbit for now. Tarn nodded. Recalling now. Holding in scatter orbit above impact strata. On the ground, emergency sirens began to stutter. Too late. Autonomous emergency vehicles rolled in circles, waiting for data they no longer received. Medbots reported, no wounded. They weren't needed. What about their reserves? Roth asked. Cut off. Their fallback systems ran through the judicial ring. That's now 200 meters deep. Hask stood from his station. If they come back from this, it won't be through Veritus. No, Draken said. It won't be through anything. He stepped down from the command platform and walked toward the secure deck, motioning to Tarn. Alert Keldornath. Directive Echo begins now. Open the feed. Let him say it to the void. Rothvarnik slid the request onto Draken Varos's command console without commentary. A flashing sequence of emergency headers followed it, encoded with tribunal distress designators. The source, Veritus Auxiliary Comm Subnode 14. The originator, Rexil Dorn. Draken gave a slight nod. Tarn tapped the console and transferred the signal to the center heads-up display. It flickered once, a quadrant filled with Rexil's face, streaked with particulate dust, seated in a partially collapsed war chamber. Behind him, damaged support columns and sparking panels framed the shattered insignia of the Garrote Tribunal. Executor Varos, please. This is Speaker Dorn, he began, voice shaking. We are acknowledging the action. I am invoking diplomatic parity under war convention. The message stuttered as the subnode connection glitched. The visual frame shifted again, catching the tremble of Dorn's posture, shoulders tight against the edge of a broken console. We submit full cessation, he continued, lips pressed into rapid phrases. There will be no retaliation, I swear it, under Trisector oath. Let us open dialogue. I'm requesting terms of cessation, non-conditional if required. This capital is neutralized. We cannot. Draken didn't move. No one in CIC spoke. On the right half of the heads-up display, telemetry continued feeding back from the vault wing orbitals. Rail cannon status bars showed green. Descent modules had returned to storage positions. The ships held formation, suspended above Veritus, unmoving but not idle. I am authorizing complete military suspension, Rexel went on. Earth has made its point. This does not need to continue. Executor, answer me. I am not issuing threats. I am not hiding a fleet. There is no deception here. We failed. Karn checked the timestamp. Transmission running 6 minutes. Still open channel. No reply flag engaged? Roth asked. Hask looked across his deck. None. System is set to observation only. No audio loopback engaged. He's speaking to an unacknowledged stream. Keep it that way, Draken said. Rexel leaned forward on screen, dragging the device closer. I'm authorizing tribunal dissolution. I'll sign the order on this feed. Just acknowledge. Just give us a directive. Anything. Say something. Draken blinked slowly, but didn't speak. His arms remained at rest, hands folded behind him. The left portion of the screen highlighted a fresh telemetry signal. Monarch hold confirmed, repositioning to low-drift passive orbit. Weapon systems disengaged. No hostilities remained. Rexel's voice cracked. We surrendered, you won. We are not your enemy anymore. Don't make this irreversible. Still no reply. Dorn's eyes darted to the side. Behind him, 2 aides stood stiff, clearly awaiting guidance that wouldn't come. He waved them out of frame, then returned to the console. Executor, this is no longer tactical, he pleaded. This is cultural collapse. Our entire command structure has been reduced to isolated actors. No unified front exists. I am what's left. I'm asking you, man to man, what's required of us? Silence. From the upper panel of the heads-up display, a faint signal registered. Directive Revenant, final phase. Impact window closure, complete. Karn whispered, We're past full mission completion. Even the AIs are standing down. Roth leaned closer to Draken. We could shut the feed, cut 'em clean. Eld shut it, Draken said calmly. He just doesn't know it yet. The image on the heads-up display began glitching. Frame jitter, audio compression warps. The emergency line feeding into CIC faltered, not from a Terran block, but because the Gorot signal node itself had degraded. Dorn's plea faded into static. His final line managed to escape the digital noise. Tell me what's left. The feed collapsed. A gray screen replaced the quadrant, with the tribunal insignia blinking for 3 seconds before freezing and fragmenting. Hask tapped a sensor log. Final signal terminated from their end, infrastructure instability. Debbie lost their fallback, Tarn added. No trace packet? Roth asked. None. Hask confirmed. He's gone. Draken tapped a command key and brought up the full orbital visualization of Veritus. The target grid remained intact for reference. Every square had gone cold. Not disabled, erased. The tribunal no longer had a capital, a government, or a standing military directive center. Their leader had tried to surrender, but Earth hadn't granted the luxury of acknowledgement. Roth turned away from the screen. They'll call us merciless. They can call us what they want, Draken said. But they'll do it quietly. He stepped away from the console and walked to the secondary platform. Behind him, the vault wing ships maintained their position, casting silent shadows across the continent below. Let them record every second, Draken continued. Let them play it for generations. Arn flicked a switch on his interface, routing final mission data into Terran command archives. No instructions sent, no terms given, no speeches made, he noted aloud. Every action completed without reply. Draken faced the CIC team. This wasn't about retaliation, it was about standards. Roth added, and consequence. Draken looked toward the screen one last time. Then let that be the only answer they get. Where is Earth's delegate? The voice of Threx Valoon, first censor of the Zekir axis, bounced off the stone-filtered acoustics of the central Accord Hall. He stood upright, robe unfastened at the collar, exochambers on his spine twitching with unprocessed chemical data. His words didn't ask, they demanded. Across the crescent table, 6 screens flickered. 3 remained blank. 2 showed preloaded avatars. 1, belonging to the Norex Ascendancy, displayed live footage. Envoy Trolloc Onroth, seated before a half-lit diplomatic crest. His third eye blinked with artificial delay. There is no Terran delegate on record, Trolloc said. We've received no updated credentials since the Veritus resolution. You helped design the treaty they ignored, Threx barked. Their absence is not diplomatic, it's intentional, and you knew. I knew Earth would retaliate, Trolloc responded without blinking. I did not know they would erase a capital. That's not something you plan for in a clause. We planned for it, murmured a voice from a muted console. Speaker Linz of the Aerolith Federation. His symbol hovered, translucent and dim, signaling minimal participation. Threx rotated his torso. Then we ask, why wasn't the Axis notified of such contingency? No one was, Linz said. Because no one mattered once the generals died. Threx stepped forward. Is this the future of diplomacy? One faction speaks in fire, and the rest of us clean ash? Trolloc leaned toward his screen. You should have intervened when Earth withdrew from the last Concord summit. Instead, you expanded observation zones over Sector Delta. You thought their silence was weakness. It was, Threx hissed. No, Lenz corrected, it was design. A ripple of static moved across the central pillar, the table's data core adjusting to the overload of cross-and-cedar speech. A Taurexian ambassador tried to connect but dropped midstream. Another console blinked off, replaced by a cascading list of severed communication channels. Neutral empires were disconnecting. Without ceremony, without announcements. Threx turned to his adjutant. Pull all external diplomatic feeds. Request assurance of alliance integrity. The adjutant checked his interface. Half the council already routed their diplomatic relays through ghost addresses. The rest set protocols to non-response. They're severing ties? Threx asked. They're fleeing association. Trolloc tapped his own display. You thought Earth could be isolated, now you are. A pause lingered. The room's atmosphere regulators clicked over to private ventilation, each sector shielding its delegates from potential trace particulates. Not for safety, out of distrust. Threx folded his arms. We can't allow one system to destabilize galactic consensus. There is no consensus, Linz replied. There's memory, and Earth just replaced ours with a demonstration. You're siding with them? I'm siding with what works. We issue mandates, they issued outcomes. Another console opened. The Skillian cartel representative filtered into view. His voice modulator skipped every 4th syllable. Cartel interests will not oppose Earth. No trade sanctions will be supported. Threx slammed his palm onto the control pad. You endorse capital eradication? We endorse clarity. The cartel voice returned. Your alliances are leaking. Ours remain solvent. 3 more screens shut off. The tribunal table, once filled with rows of active voices, now resembled a triage unit after the battle. Half used, half missing, all fractured. Threx approached the central interface. What are we left with? Trolloc stood from his seat. Consequences. Linz added, and empty chairs. Behind them, a wide view opened to the exterior corridor, once guarded by ceremonial defense drones, now reduced to passive watchtowers. There was no threat. Earth didn't send ships. They didn't transmit conditions. They didn't wait. Their absence said more than any warning. A system engineer approached the chamber entrance and whispered to a lower diplomat. The message rippled across private channels before Threx finally caught it. Earth submitted a one-line statement. He opened it. Directive Revenant complete. Further incursions will trigger Directive Echo. No elaboration, no sender ID, no timestamp, no comm signature. Trolloc smiled. You asked for their presence, you just got it. Threx turned to the half-ruined table. Then we have no choice but to reform our block. Who will join you? Linz asked. The survivors? The ones who watched and kept their heads down? Threx didn't answer. Another screen dropped. The chamber dimmed by another measure. By the time the meeting reached its final note, only 5 counselors remained logged in. 2 didn't speak. 1 submitted a withdrawal notice. Initiate the deterrent beacon, full relay coverage, no signal delay. Kel Dornath issued the order without raising his voice. Inside the sealed command center beneath Europa's crust, the directive file unlocked on 3 terminals at once. Each station blinked with amber security tags, older than the system itself. A pair of operatives. 1 from Central Archives, 1 from Terran Security Compliance, stood behind Dornath as the console completed the unlock cycle. The Directive Echo seal expanded across the heads-up display, rotating slowly beside a simple phrase. Post-conflict doctrine activation. Engagement limit 0. Dornath placed his biometric ring against the confirmation port. Execute containment assurance. The vault-fed interface chirped as the signature validated. Satellites across Terran-controlled space received their data burst. Protocol Echo didn't launch ships. It didn't issue ultimatums. Its function was containment, visible, silent, and permanent. Back in orbit over Veritus, the Vault Wing fleet shifted, not with urgency but coordination. 1 by 1, each kill carrier disengaged from its descent strata and elevated back into wide arc. Thrusters activated on minimal thrust, enough to enter high exit drift. No verbal command passed between them. The mission was over. The doctrine had spoken. Each ship moved outward in staggered retreat. No Terran crew remained aboard. No delegation followed them. The fleet began its disappearance into untagged lanes, leaving only a pattern. That pattern mattered. On Veritus's orbit line, 32 autonomous drones detached from the vault carriers before departure. They stabilized using micro-thrusters and rotated into exact spacing. Every drone broadcast the same fixed signal. Low power, continuous loop. Governance destabilization complete. Do not engage Terran assets. That was it. The drones weren't armed for destruction. They didn't carry nukes, rods, or sensors meant to kill, but each one contained a high-resolution module for target verification and a counter-intrusion buffer wired to detonate the source of the interference. They weren't weapons. They were reminders. Hask Juran stood in the CIC and watched the final telemetry packets come through. They've fully disengaged, Vault Wing ships now outside sensor lock. Roth Varnick stepped next to him. Any alien fleets attempting interception? Negative. No one's moving. Tarn Maverick keyed through the orbital list. The drones will stay indefinitely. Their power draw is minimal. Solar-fed logic cores, hard-coded aggression blocks. Roth stared at the formation. What's the response rate on reactivation? Sub-minute, Tarn said. But we don't need them to fight. We need them to watch. Inside Earth's orbital relay zone, the echo signal extended. Civilian transport hubs received modified nav data warning of newly zoned orbital blocks. Any vessel flying near Veritus or known strike regions would encounter a passive alert tagged, "Zone monitored, do not interfere." Drake and Varos entered the CIC 30 seconds after the beacon upload began. "Have left?" he asked, scanning the display. "Last one cleared burn range 7 minutes ago," Echo confirmed. "Echo drones are stable, broadcast at full strength." Draken faced the command map. Dozens of systems now lit with passive indicators. Not fleets, but protocol presence. Directive Echo was never about retaliation. It was about clarity. Kel Dornath's private transmission arrived on a priority channel. Draken opened it. Kel's face appeared, older than most remembered him. Echo is now recognized by the Unified Deterrence Archive. I've filed the submission manually. You didn't automate it? Draken asked. No, this needed a human decision. I'm not trusting this phase to ghost commands. They'll understand the silence. They'll understand it better than words. The message cut out. Across the central display, incoming alien chatter started to resurface. Not threats, not alliances. Queries, pings, observation posts registering the drone signal but not responding to it. They didn't dare. Roth paced the lower deck. That one sentence is going to get quoted for decades. Draken didn't look away. And every time they quote it, they'll remember the capital that vanished first. At the top of the display, a new icon appeared, Directive Echo symbol, updated and verified. It glowed white over the grid, a singular, fixed shape in every planetary system where a vault carrier had ever passed. No fleet remained. His rotation, orbit, stillness. Every system in the former tribunal zone would now mark that rotation on every tactical feed. Not to calculate threat vectors. To remember they weren't invited. Shut it down, archive the doctrine. Drakenvaros issued the final instruction as the Directive Echo beacon completed its last loop. In the CIC, every system terminal now displayed the post-strike clearance prompt. Tarn Mavrek entered the command lock manually. No ceremony, no acknowledgement from the AI cores. Just a flat shutdown notice and a timestamp. Mission duration, 6 hours, 12 minutes. Husk Jurin cross-checked the orbital logs. All Vault Wing units confirmed silent drift. Return trajectories logged. Destination vectors match black site orbital veil. No deviation? Roth Varnick asked. None. The last of Earth's autonomous strike carriers had left visible orbit. They weren't returning to base. They were returning to disappearance. Sector tracking had already delisted them from Terran grid indexing. The fleet that erased a capital would go back to waiting. Draken turned to the main console and input a fixed key sequence. The heads-up display recalibrated, resetting the CIC's primary grid. Terran insignia appeared at the center. Every system affected by Revenant execution now displayed a blue ring. Non-hostile, no entry, non-negotiable. A soft indicator blinked once. The internal recorder was active. Draken stepped forward. No live line? Roth asked. Recorded transmission only. He began. This is Strategic Executor Drakenvaros. Earth confirms the final phase of Directive Revenant has been completed. No further military action will be initiated under current conditions. The capital of the Gorat Tribunal, Veritus, has been disabled. Permanently. All governance structures eliminated. He paused. There will be no reply to incoming negotiations. There will be no council attendance. The doctrine exists outside discussion. A timer flashed at the edge of the screen, marking each second of the statement. You killed leadership. We eliminated governance. Draken's voice remained steady. This exchange is closed. He stopped recording. Tarn routed the file through the relay. It'll arrive on every public council node within 6 minutes, Tarn said. Auto-translation embedded. Multi-spectrum reception. They won't miss it. Eadley already heard it, Draken replied. This is just documentation. Roth crossed his arms. There's no one left to argue, which is why we don't wait for them. Kel Dornath joined via encrypted feed from the archive hall. Directive Revenant is now resealed, reclassification level upgraded to Event Protocol Black 6. No future deployments without 3-tier authorization. Draken nodded. Understood. Kel continued. The doctrine worked, not as retribution, but correction. That was always the point, Draken said. On the display, Veritas remained marked. Not red, not hostile, inert. The strike sites showed no heat, no fallout, no radiation markers. They'd hit only what mattered. Decision makers, enforcement hubs, intelligence command nodes. Hask finalized the last log entry. 0 civilian anomalies, infrastructure impact limited to targets, no escalation across secondary systems. Roth looked to Draken. And if someone tries to rebuild, we watch. Silence returned to the sea. Tarn stood quietly near the side terminal. You think they'll retaliate in a decade? No, Draken said. They'll study. Kell's feed dropped. The archive channel returned to dormant status. The room dimmed slightly as standby protocols activated. No alarms, no visual fanfare. Earth didn't throw parades for doctrine. It finished them. Ask powered down his console. All systems reset. We're back to monitor ready. Draken looked to each of them. We'll rotate teams in shifts, maintain eyes, not posture. Roth moved toward the exit but stopped halfway. This was never about power, was it? No, Draken replied. It was about permanence. One by one, consoles went dark, leaving only the center grid. The insignia of Earth remained lit. Beneath it, the words, sealed under Directive Revenant, now etched into Terran military protocol for the next generation to read. If command is severed, response will not be paused. It will be concluded. No foreign governments responded to Earth's final statement. None dared to send envoys. Across every orbital chart, autonomous watch drones rotated silently, marking the space where action ended and memory began. And far from any recognized system, inside a dead zone masked by gravity scatter fields, the vault wing settled into obfuscation. No one followed them, no beacons marked their hold. But their file remained open. Draken Veros returned to his station, reset the time counter, and watched the first minute tick past.